Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that is the same size as 40 million mooncakes placed side to side. It's Sif Pop. Welcome to Sif Pop Weekly, streaming live most weekends, are available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks!
Patrons get those perks.
No barriers!
I'm your host, Darren Dicer, and last night he dreamt he went to Home Depot again. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen. And each week we'll chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. Did you dream that you went to Home Depot again?
Most of my dreams end up with me in a hardware store at some point or another.
Nice. It's probably better than Mandalay. If I'm being honest, it's probably a better dream. Welcome to those who are watching live, listening live. We appreciate you. Dan says, hey, longtime podcast listeners, first time YouTube live stream watcher person, which is the official term, by the way.
Yeah, YouTube watcher person. For
people who are watching the show live. Welcome, Dan. It is great to have you here. See Tom and Evan and Andrew in the chat as well as many others who haven't chatted yet. But feel free to let us know what's going on in your life. It is quite the weekend. You got Halloween leading right into some sort of voting thing that's going on this week, some sort of electoral educational establishment from what I can understand.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm not going to lie. I forgot that it was voting coming soon because I voted early. So it's one of those things where it's just like, doesn't bother me anymore. I don't have to worry about it. Right. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's tomorrow.
You know, you're not alone. Millions and millions of people have already voted. And it is one of the beautiful things about living in this country. Is the ability to participate in the democratic process. So, yeah, excited to do that this week. Hope you are as well. And that's about all the politics talk you're getting on Sif Pop.
That's it.
That is not why we are here. We are here to chat about some movies that have come out recently, as well as do our buried treasure and a best ever challenge again this week. So we're going to have a good time hanging out, doing all that fun stuff. Glad you're with us on is Monday evening. What happened? Well, we couldn't do it on Sunday afternoon, so we decided we'll do it on Monday evening, and we're glad you're able to be here with us. So let's kick it off, and let's head in to Over the Moon. An adventurous girl builds a rocket ship to meet a mythical goddess on the moon. It is an animated film from Netflix, getting into the game. I guess they've kind of been in the animated film game. They've done a few before. But definitely continuing to be the most productive film studio of 2020 by a long shot. It's been amazing to see, movie after movie. In fact, both the movies this week that we're talking about released on Netflix here in the last couple weeks. So it's been interesting to kind of see them continue to release these movies, and, we'll continue to talk about them. But what did you think, Andrew, about Over the Moon? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay?
I'm going to go with low side of liked it.
Okay.
So, yeah. Still liked it, but, yeah.
I may have liked it a little bit more than that. I don't think I would say low side. I think I'd just say I liked it. I liked this
Yeah.
movie. I found myself really enjoying these characters, this story, the visuals, like everything I want an animated movie to do. I feel like this movie accomplished pretty well. And I came out the other side going, yeah, I like that movie. That was pretty good. So I'm glad you liked it as well. What were some of the things that kind of stood out to you in the film?
The one thing as I was watching it is I was going like over everything that was happening, and to me it was like I think Disney is trying to make a Disney film. And by that I mean they're doing all the paint by numbers things that you see every either Disney or Pixar movie doing,
Right.
to make for their animated movies. And I guess the best analogy I could make for it is if Disney and Pixar are like Harvard, then this movie is like Cornell. Yeah, it's still an Ivy League school, but
Oh
is it
man.
really an Ivy League school? It's not Princeton or
Yale.
Yale
Yeah.
or Harvard. It's still an Ivy League school, so yeah, it's trying to be an Ivy League school, but so because like it's hitting all those notes. I'm not going to go over them obviously, but if you know the paint by numbers for Disney slash Pixar movies, you can guess what happens in this movie. But at the same time, the emotional impacts that I feel from watching those movies, I did not feel in this one. I could see that they were trying to make me feel those things, but I just didn't. If that
That's
makes sense.
that's kind of the worst too when you feel like a movie is like trying to pull something out of you and it's just not coming. You know, like it's
Yeah.
then it starts to feel a little desperate. Now, granted, I didn't feel the same way as you, but I know that feeling of like, oh, I can tell you're trying to tug on my heartstrings, but you're completely missing. Like you're over on my like rib bone, and you're nowhere near my heart right now.
Yeah.
Like I know
That
that
hurts
feeling.
physically, not emotionally.
That's right. I think it worked a little more for me. The emotion did. I was really the reason I would say the emotion might fall a little bit short for me and maybe for some is because the movie plays so much in the fantastical that it's a little bit difficult for it to feel authentically human at times. Now, it's not that it isn't authentically human. It's not that it doesn't have those human moments. It's just because it's so willing to play in the realm of fantasy, then it's hard for me to gear shift down sometimes and go like, "Oh, I believe this. I'm in this. I feel this." Having said that, I thought it was good enough that I did feel those moments. I did feel those emotions and was kind of able to cross that little bit of a barrier, so to speak, that the movie kind of put up in that way. So yeah, I felt the emotion pretty well. I think the movie makes a shift, probably about 25 minutes in, where it really embraces the fantasy, and it's almost like there are two movies. One starts and ends the movie, and then there's a different movie in the middle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's jarring.
It is a little bit jarring, yeah. That's
Because
my main negative.
you're talking about the fantastical elements. There's also a scientific element to it that is
Yeah,
discarded immediately.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, but I was actually trying, kind of getting into that, and now it's gone now. Okay, I guess I'll stick with this over here.
Yeah, it really is discarded. They don't really come back to it much at all. It did feel like the character was going to be a little more like finding that balance of fantasy and science and like figuring out, how those two realms work together. And I'm not sure if the movie is ever kind of steering into my negatives here, but I'm not sure if the movie is ever crystal clear on what is real and what isn't. Now, you don't have to be. Like, a movie doesn't have to, like, state that clearly, but it can be helpful, especially in a movie like this that is kind of fighting its own tone. It can be helpful for the movie to indicate, although it certainly is a little bit tropey, but to indicate, like, it was all a dream, or, this was just an imagination, or, something like that. And I don't think the movie ever really even like teases or leans, unless I missed it. Did I miss something that leaned towards what was real and what wasn't?
No, I
I
think
don't
it's
think I did.
left. I think it's left up to the viewers to decide for themselves.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna throw out pros.
Do it, please.
Philippa Sue has the most amazing voice of voices.
Yeah.
Yeah, her portrayal as Shanga is great. By the way, Shanga and Ho Yi, great gods to play if you're ever playing the video game Smite. Very good game, very good gods to play as.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Philippa Sue, by the way, people will know from Hamilton.
yeah,
Just in case you were wondering where you've heard that name before.
that's the first time I've ever seen her, I think. And whenever we did our Hamilton review, because it came to Disney Plus, that was like my big pro. I'm like, she is beyond incredible.
Yeah, she's
She
really
was
good.
the standout for me from that whole musical. And her voice in here is standout too. Not only her voice, I like the songs in this. I think
I
there
do
are some
too.
catchy
Yeah.
songs. There's some good music going on in this movie.
And it's pop music too. It's not
Yeah.
like your typical like Disney princess fare. Like it's legit. Like I'm trying to think of an artist, but I'm thinking like Katy Perry or Gaga or it feels like modern pop music.
Yeah, I
was
got
really
some Gaga
impressed.
vibes from this.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
If you want
Any
to
of the
call
other
it,
cast?
if you want to call it C-pop, China pop, I guess that's what it is.
I can't,
There's
possibly.
K-pop and
I don't know.
J-pop. I don't know what's yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ken Yong, Sandra Oh, in here
Yeah.
as well, doing some voices. John Cho shows up at one point too. So yeah, there's some voices you'll know, some people you'll know. But even more than that, the characters that they're playing seem really engaging to me, and I think a lot of that has to do with their vocal performances. I think are really good here. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it works.
I think that there's some loose threads in this and some really reaching to make the story progress. And I think that that is where this one definitely falls short for me because, like you said, or like I said earlier, the entire time I'm trying to compare this, a Disney or a Pixar, and whenever those things would happen, I'm like, Pixar would have fleshed that out. Pixar would have made that pretty smooth, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there's some story cuts, right? Like
Yeah,
some shortcuts in the story to kind of get from point A to point C and kind of forget about point B a little bit. So yeah,
yeah,
I hear you there. I definitely hear you there. I think that's legit.
yeah. Other than that, did we really talk about the visuals? It's a very vibrantly colored movie.
This was
At times, yeah. Go
this was
ahead.
the one I was glad to watch on my my big television with the gorgeous colors. And yeah, when you get to that fantasy stuff, the music is fun and the visuals are really fun, and it never quite gets to the place where I would say it was style over substance, but the style certainly does take front and center, right? Like the
Yeah,
style becomes what you're going to notice. The substance is still there lingering in the background, still doing its job. The story is progressing. Whereas, in something like I'm going to say Trolls World Tour, right? That is style over substance. Like it kind of
yeah,
feels like that beautiful color energy from a movie like that, but with actually some story continuing to go underneath that you care about.
yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I did like the music in this, it did feel like if the movie didn't know how to progress from a certain point, they're like, well, we could just insert another song and then we can just skip to the next part, and just say that it took place in the song, which it can be cheating,
Yeah.
or lazy. I say
I
lazy, not knowing how difficult it is to write an actual song, but
Yeah, I don't think writing a song is lazy. It is a difficult thing to do,
but from a
but
storytelling
from a
standpoint,
storytelling standpoint, you get to just it's almost a type of exposition, a type of narration, even as opposed to actually experiencing the story. Because of that, and I think we've kind of already touched on that on this part of it, but it does feel like as I headed to the end, there's a good side to this and a bad side to this. But as I headed towards the resolution of this movie, I felt like, wait, are we done already? Like there was and I don't know if you had the same experience, but I was like, man, we kind of shot through that. Some of that is kind of, skipping through the story a little bit. And another part of that is just I was engaged. I never felt bored. And so, so there's kind of a positive and a negative to that, but it's definitely something that I can see somebody feeling either kind of way about.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. There were never any lulls for me where I'm like, okay, when's this thing gonna wrap up? Um, yeah, it's one of those. Before I knew it, it was over, and I was engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It did its job. It kept me entertained through and through.
So question,
Yeah.
movie just for families, or if you don't have kids, if you're, is this something anybody can enjoy, or is it pretty much a family movie? What do you think?
Uh, with the message it's trying to tell, I could see people who have gone through some of the things that the movie's dealing with. It's doing the Pixar thing like, oh, here's the thing we're gonna talk about today. Um, if you've dealt with that, I think that this movie could, be like a good, you know, I want to say counsel. Like, hey, yeah, it can console you a little bit, but it could also work as a family movie. So I would say mostly a family movie, but there are instances where I think this movie could really, impact you emotionally.
Yeah, I think anybody can like this movie. I would recommend it to anyone. Having said that, if you are the kind of family that likes to sit down and watch a movie together, this is a great one to throw on. Fire up Netflix and pop it on the TV and have a good time as a family. Because I do think this is worth a watch. Like I said, I liked it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah,
It's not next level. It's not Pixar. It's not How to Train Your Dragon, which is another one of my favorites in the genre. But it is good. It's good. It's a good movie. So check
yeah.
it out. All right, I think we can move on to the next one, Andrew. Let's talk a
Let's
little
do
bit
it.
about Rebecca. A young newlywed arrives at her husband's imposing family estate on a windswept English coast and finds herself battling the shadow of his first wife, Rebecca, whose legacy lives on in the house long after her death. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened to my voice there. Got very
No, you got into it, man.
got very soap opera-y there for a second. So let's talk about Rebecca. This is obviously a remake, or actually, technically, let me be clear, not a remake of the 1940 Alfred Hitchcock film. It is a new telling of the original book, which the creators wanted to be very clear about. So this is starring Armie Hammer and Lily James.
Kristen
And
Scott Thomas.
let me ask you this, Andrew. Have you seen the original Rebecca 1940 version?
Didn't know there was an original or a book.
Okay. It was Hitchcock's first American film. It was his first film not made in the
Really?
UK. Yeah. So, 1940, he made it. Okay. Well, now I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. What did you think? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or was it just okay?
I didn't like it. High side of didn't like it, so close to okay. But I think I'm gonna land in did not like it.
We're on the same page today, my friend.
Yeah.
Except for my opinions are just a little bit stronger than yours. I'm firmly in the didn't liked it category.
Okay.
I was bored out of my mind during a lot of this movie,
Yeah.
and that's a rough go. I have some good things to say about it,
Yeah, I do
but
too.
but watching it was not a great experience for me. Now I do know very well the original Hitchcock film. As a Hitchcock fan, I love his stuff. And I wonder how much that impacted my ability to enjoy this movie, to love this movie. So I just, I guess as a caveat, to say that there is that possibility that because I love the Hitchcock version, that this was never going to live up to it. But yeah, I think overall, I just think the pacing is purposeful, but there's not enough outside of the pacing to hold my attention in a way that I found engaging. If you're going to be this intentionally slow paced and this intentionally simmering, it's a very simmering movie. It feels like it just kind of wants to sit on the stove on a light boil. And it's just if you're going to do that, you have to give me other things that are going to pull me along. And I just didn't feel like I had those. And so that was kind of my overall kind of take on the movie. What was your overall take, Andrew?
My overall take is I don't think this movie knew what it wanted to be. If it wanted to be a Cinderella story, which is ironic, if it wanted to be a murder mystery, if it wanted to be like a slow romance, like as I was watching, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? Like, I I know Lily James' character is confused for the entire movie, and I felt confused for the entire movie.
It's not a fun feeling. No.
No, yeah, it's not a fun feeling because I don't know what part of my mind to engage. Like, if it is the murder mystery, then yeah, let me stay in the murder mystery and try and solve it. Let me be a detective
Right.
in this. If it's gonna be, a Cinderella story about a rags to riches, love story, then yeah, let me get in that mindset. Let me get my Cinderella on. But yeah, the movie just does so much without doing enough of anything. It's like I don't want to say a jack of all trades because a jack is still a pretty decent card. Let's go with a six of all trades.
I'm not sure that phrase is talking about playing cards, but we'll go with the metaphor. We'll
No,
go with it.
I'm mixing metaphors with different. Yeah.
Sure. No,
But
I
the
hear
fact
exactly
is,
what
you
you're
you
saying.
understood what I'm trying to say. There,
That's
didn't
exactly
you?
right. That's what
Yeah.
communication is all about, buddy. As long
Yeah.
as long as you understand, we're good.
And that's what this movie doesn't do. It doesn't do communication.
I agree. I wouldn't say I was lost. This is very much a
No.
movie that is it's clear on its intentions. Like it's not confusing in a way of like I can't figure it out. There's too complicated. It's confusing in a way of like, yeah, but why? Yeah, but what? Yeah, but who? Like it's not confusing in a way of, Tenet. It's
No.
I'm not trying to figure out the ins and outs of the plot. I'm just trying to figure out what the movie is trying to do and why it's not accomplishing what it's trying to do very well. So I'm right there with you. I thought the performances were very bland, other than Kristen Scott Thomas,
who's great. Yeah,
who's
that was going to be one of my big
fabulous.
pros. Yeah, Kristen Scott Thomas is doing Kristen Scott Thomas. I'm not saying that she's a character actress, but she has definitely perfected that. The one putting on airs and looking down on others. Yeah, she has that.
It was one of the only interesting parts of the movie for me was the menace that character, the quiet menace of that character, and how that character is. See, the movie is attempting to be kind of a ghost movie in a way. Like Rebecca is the ghost over the entire movie, and then
An
the Hitchcock
annoying
version is the
ghost.
same, and an annoying ghost at that.
Honestly, I was like, if one person tells me how great Rebecca is, again, I'm gonna lose it. It got so annoying. Every single person be like, "Oh, Rebecca this. Oh, Rebecca that." I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not supposed to care about Rebecca. I'm supposed to care about Lily James's character.
I mean, she is the title character, so maybe we're
Yeah,
supposed
but
to care about her a
still.
little bit. But what I was going to say is Kristen Scott Thomas does such a great job at being kind of the medium to pull that ghost, into the world. Like you really get the sense that she is conjuring, something with the memory of this character, and she does it so very well. And really was, again, the only really interesting performance in the movie for me. Did you have any other pros? I have one other pro that I can get to, but I didn't want to cut you off if you had some more.
It's a beautiful movie.
That was my other pro.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like all the scenery and the sets that they go to. I'm like, wow, I need to travel more. That's what I got. Or man, I want to live at Mandalay.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, here's the thing: Ben Wheatley, who directed this, I can't think of a movie of his that I really liked. But every single one of his movies, I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty movie, but I don't think it's good. So it's kind of like after the movie ended, I looked up who directed it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because that's happened with him before.
Yeah, it is. It is really pretty. I think I leaned over to my wife who was watching it with me, and at one point said something along the lines of, "This is possibly the most beautiful things I've ever had to look out while being so extremely bored."
Yeah.
So it's just like the landscape, this is not. I mean, if you're going to throw this into any awards conversation, it's Christian Scott Thomas and it's cinematography, and that's
it.
really all it has going for it, in my opinion.
And it's not like Lily James or Army. Well, I don't know if Army Hammer's bad. He's just one note through the entire movie. I don't know if it's the performances are bad or that they're just not given anything. Now,
Right.
in the case of Kristen Scott Thomas, I'm thinking, yeah, she really wasn't given much, but she took it and she made it, her own. And it makes me think, well, why couldn't the other performers do that? But maybe it's just the skills she has. I have no idea. But yeah, I didn't care about any other person really in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, me
It's
either.
a shame. I had high hopes for this one.
I did as well, especially as a Hitchcock fan.
I can't even imagine then, yeah.
Because there are, we, I think, rightfully are a little annoyed by how many remakes, redos, sequels, prequels, IP. We're annoyed by how much IP is milked in our kind of modern storytelling, content-driven world, right? Entertainment world. Mm-hmm. But there are cases where it's like, yeah, but that movie's 80 years old, and telling that story in a modern way could be interesting, could be fun. And so there are times where I get it, I get really excited for a retelling. And this was one of those occasions, and it just did not live up to it. And so it was very disappointing. And I think if you know anything about how movies are going to impact you psychologically, impact me psychologically, impact any human psychologically, it has a lot to do with expectations and whether or not they're fulfilled or not. And my expectations were completely unfulfilled on this. And so I come away from it not enjoying it much at all.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is a shame. It is a shame. I cannot recommend. I would recommend searching out the original 1940 movie of the same name, Rebecca, and checking out how Hitchcock tells a ghost story like this one. So, yeah, check that one out instead.
That one I would definitely be interested in watching.
Before we head on to our best ever challenge, a huge shout out and thank you to our Sift Pop members. We love you. We appreciate you. You keep this show going. If you listen to the show or watch the show, either way, know that your support, your membership, directly impacts our ability to do the show, whether it be the software that we broadcast on, whether it be the cameras that we use, the lighting, all of those things have been provided for by our amazing Ziff Pop members. So thank you so much for that. We do appreciate you. Now, if you're curious what that looks like, we do it at Patreon. You just go to patreon.com/SiftPop, and you can check out the different levels of membership there, kind of what comes with it, all that kind of fun stuff. Thank you so much for being a Sift Pop member. And again, to check it out, go to patreon.com/SiftPop. And thanks. All right, let's move on to the best ever challenge. We are going to do this week best ever over/under movies. No, this is not a gambling thing. We're not setting the over/under. These are movies that either have the word over or under in them. And yes, we are allowing the tricky ones. If the word under is hidden in there or over is hidden in there, then those count as well. So please, if you are watching live, let us know some of your favorites in the chat, and we will mention those once we're done counting down our top 5. We'll go from number 5 to number 1, and Andrew kicks us off. What is your number 5 best ever movie with an over or under?
I'm going with a classic, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
I had that in my honorable mentions. It's a good choice.
It's like one of the early Disney live action fantasticals, like the Swiss Family Robinson and movies like that. That just remind me of a time when Disney kind of, that was their staple, doing the live action on top of the live action originals, I should say. They're
Yeah.
not remakes of their animated movies. Um, no, this was a really fun one, and it as much as the ocean terrifies me, as it should, and it should terrify you too.
Yeah.
Um, it's a beautiful movie, and it's just an array of fascinating characters. Yeah, it's a fun watch. It really is.
I enjoy this movie. It is well known for the squid attack, and this movie
Oh
was
yeah,
way ahead of its time. And I remember watching it as a kid and just being like, "Whoa, that's amazing!" And what's even more amazing is the movie had been out a long time before I was a kid. Like,
yeah.
it was one of those things where, it just impressed me quite a bit. So yeah, I think I dig this choice. I think this is a good choice.
And it's a movie that knew that giant squids were real way before
That's
even
right.
scientists had confirmed it.
That's right. I'm
Your
gonna
number five?
My number five will be one of four movies in my top five where the over under is hidden. I only had one that actually had the word over or under in it. My number five is Tropic Thunder. So I this
I
is
would have thought
this
of it. It would have made it.
this snuck onto my list. It is, man, this movie, man. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's one of those movies that is so over the top. You think of Cruise's performance, you think of Downey's performance. This is a movie that befuddles people to understand the satire of it. It's a movie I see, criticized because of some of the things in it, and at the end of the day, it's also a movie that is just really, really funny. And so yeah, I'd throw it out there as one that's worth conversation in this topic. So
Yeah, I guess you could say that it's a movie that brings to life certain topics in the most uncomfortable, controversial way. Like, yeah, there's
right,
different ways. There's different ways to talk about, you know, horror or awful actions or something that you see people take. But this movie does it in like the most uncomfortable way possible, which kind of makes it more engaging because you're like,
yeah.
okay, there's no way this would ever happen.
That's
But
good
then you think,
satire, right?
yeah,
That is the most powerful satire. Really makes you uncomfortable. It makes you think, and I think there's a lot of that going on here amongst the crazy humor as well. So
it
that is
is
my
one of the
number five.
funniest movies ever too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your number four?
I'm gonna go with Rescuers Down Under.
Ooh, nice choice. Also in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I love the Rescuer movies. They were like my jam growing up, and I actually think I like the Rescuers Down Under more than I like the first one.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
oh,
I
you
agree
think so
totally.
too?
I agree totally. I think Rescuers Down Under is the better movie.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because you already know about these characters, or I think that the Australian outback, that whole scene and the villain and everything is just much more well thought out and just incredible. Like the Great Golden Eagle is such a great like story arc to go off of, about
Mm-hmm.
conservation and stuff like that. It's just a good movie. It's a fun movie too.
Yep,
You love
I
all these
agree.
characters.
I totally agree. If you haven't watched the Rescuers movies, they may seem on the outside to be really cheesy, to be something you wouldn't be interested in. You're welcome. Sorry. Actually, if I had realized I had done a pun, I would have been upset. I've been like rats. Anyways, this is going to be a lot of fun for you because these are a good watch. Disney makes good movies, and these two are two of them.
I could
So
see
good choice.
Rescuers being one of the franchises that if Disney brought back, I would be on board for. I'm like, oh yeah, I want more Rescuer movies. Those were
Sure.
great.
Sure.
Yeah. Your number four?
My number four, hidden once again in the title. My number four is The Founder, which I haven't talked a lot about recently. It just came out, I don't know, a couple years ago.
Is that
and
the Michael Keaton McDonald's one?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
yes, it's a good movie. It is a good
it's a
movie.
really good movie. I'm kind of surprised. I feel like it's under the radar now. I feel like it's kind of underrated. It just kind of got forgotten as soon as it came out. The story is fascinating. The story of the guy that invented, not invented. I shouldn't say invented.
That's the whole point of the movie.
That is the whole point of the movie, is that he
The guy
did
who
not
stole
invent.
McDonald's.
The guy who stole McDonald's and made millions and millions of dollars off of billions and billions served, I think the sign says.
Yeah.
So the story itself is interesting, and then the performance is great, and then the way the movie progresses and tells the story is really done well. So this is one of those I think under the radar gems. So definitely something I would check out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. I would highly, if you haven't seen The Founder, it is one that I would go, oh yeah. It doesn't matter who. I'm like, oh yeah, you should watch that movie. It's one I'll recommend for everybody. It's good.
Yep. What do you got at number 3?
I'm going to go with an animated film, Batman Under the Red Hood. You know me, I love my Disney animated, or my DC animated movies. And especially the Batman ones. This is one of the best ones. I put it in the top 5. It is just a great tragic story of the Bat family. You know, the Robins and the Nightwing, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tragic story that takes place within it. That is canon. It actually is canon in the DC universe. It is a very well acted, voice acting wise. I think it's a good one. And if you don't know the story of, I guess I'll just say Jason Todd, who's one of the Robins, it's one to watch. It's a great watch.
I have seen this.
Oh, you have?
Surprisingly enough, yes. So my 9 to 5 job had me writing little nitpicks of the movie, something you might call sins, in fact. I
didn't know you wrote the sins for this one.
Yeah, I wrote on the script. So anyhow, I have seen this, and I am not as connected to the material as you, but I definitely see what you're saying. It is, they're doing something interesting with these movies. So I'm glad you brought it up, for sure.
All right, so you're number 3.
My number 3 is the only one where I use the words properly. It is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
You know what I got to do, don't you?
I know what you got to do.
Yeah. Trump!
You trumped it. All right, what is your number 2 then?
I'm going to go with Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Nice. I didn't even think of that one. That's a good choice. That would have been in my honorable mentions for sure if I'd have thought of it.
Dodgeball is one of the funniest movies of all time.
We're just going Ben Stiller, man. Ben Stiller all the way.
Exactly, yeah. I think this is, like, if I were to list, like, the top 20 funniest movies ever made, I think Dodgeball would probably make it in that list. It's quotable, it's unique, it's funny, it has a plethora of just crazy, zany characters that you can... There's going to be at least one character, or more than one, probably. But there'll be at least one character that you're like, that's one of my favorite characters. I love that character, Ben Stiller going full Ben Stiller, is always fun to see. I absolutely love Dodgeball.
It's very quotable too.
Oh yeah, you can write.
That's a great
dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. You can dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball.
You can dodge a wrench. You can dodge a ball.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. Yep. It's just true.
Yeah. So you're number 2.
My number 2 is Rounders. This is
honorable mention. Yeah.
This is as a poker lover, one of my favorite movies because it gets so much right about poker while at the same time focusing on making a crazy fun story. And
crazy is being the opportune.
Yes, yes. Malkovich is so great and over the top. Damon's great. Norton's great. Everybody's great. So I have a fun time with this movie. So it comes in at number 2 for me.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have an Edward Norton character in my life, somebody who is constantly, getting me into trouble. But he definitely makes for a fascinating film, I'll say that.
Yeah.
If it's one of those things where if you like poker, it's like a homework, like it's required watching. You have to watch Rounders if you like poker.
Yeah. Well, Brian Koppelman, who wrote it, is just he's kind of like Aaron Sorkin light for me. I just really dig the way he writes and the way he has characters communicate. His thing right now is Billions. I don't know if you've ever watched Billions on Showtime.
Billions is good. Is that show still going? I thought it was over.
No, it's still going. I mean, they
Oh,
had to. I think they aired like 6 episodes of their season that was interrupted. The production was interrupted by the pandemic,
mm,
but they aired those 6 episodes, and I think they'll come back when they can. But he's very clever, and he's almost like Aaron Sorkin if Sorkin was much more about pop culture references. Even though Sorkin definitely uses those, Koppelman like piles them on, and so he's a lot of fun for me. So
yeah,
I enjoy this movie in many ways.
yeah, right there
Are we
with you.
to our number ones?
I
Is that
think
where
we
we're at?
are.
Well, I know what
And
yours is.
yeah, you do. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep.
Whew, crazy movie. And it's kind of relevant now because I guess Ratchet is on Netflix now. I haven't seen it, but
Right. Yeah.
I'd be interested to watch it because I love Emma Thompson, and it's funny because Emma Thompson is playing a younger Nurse Ratchet, but she's older than the original actress who played Nurse Ratchet. Um, yeah, there's so many things about this movie that deal with like I can't believe this is how we used to treat the mentally ill,
Mm-hmm.
or how could you be so cold to another human being, or
Right.
you know the way that all the staff in this facility look at the patients, as something other than human. But
Yeah.
then Jack Nicholson comes along and he humanizes them and he's punished for it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a it is one of the greatest movies of all time, easily.
I watched it late. I only watched this like I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, something like that, for the first time, and it is powerful. And the Nicholson performance is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I will say I haven't heard great things about Ratchet. I will also say I
Hmm.
think you mean Sarah Paulson as opposed to Emma Thompson.
What did I said
Um,
Emma Thompson. Yeah, I definitely meant Sarah Paulson. Emma Thompson. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
but so I haven't checked out Ratchet because I've kind of been scared away from it by some people I trust, saying it's not all that great. But this movie is super powerful and super worth a watch. So deserving of your spot at number one, and I think I had it at number three. So
Yep.
there's that.
So
My
what's
number
yours?
one is 10 Cloverfield Lane. So
Man,
a
you
little
are
over,
sneaky,
just
sneaky.
hidden right there after the CL and before the field.
A lot of years that I didn't think of would have made it in my top five. This definitely would have. It probably would be.
Man, do I
It
love this
probably would
movie.
be number two or number three for me.
I like the original Cloverfield.
Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoy that movie.
you and
I
I
think it
are
holds up.
actually a minority on that one.
I think so. I think a lot of people don't feel like it holds up or didn't like it in the first place. I like it,
Yeah.
but I love this movie. I think this
Oh, it's
movie is
insanely good.
so well done. It's obviously not really about Cloverfield. In fact, the only negative of the movie is kind of how forced the Cloverfield stuff feels at the end. I didn't mind it so much because they're putting it in that universe, and I get it. But the majority of this movie and what works about this movie is just the incredible claustrophobic performances from our three leads. And man, this is a good watch. So if you haven't checked out 10 Cloverfield Lane, I highly recommend it. Maybe my favorite John Goodman performance ever.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's so good.
It's
So,
right up
yeah.
there with the Oh Brother Where Art Thou. For as little as he's in that movie, he's so memorable. But this is easily his best performance.
Yep.
And a lot of people will go, "Wait, what about The Big Lebowski? Why don't you go ahead and watch 10 Cloverfield Lane?" You know.
I do. I think this is better. I definitely think this is better. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to go into the chat to see some of your choices before we do our honorable mentions. The movie Overboard was mentioned. Lollipop Shoes mentioning Overboard in the comments. Let's see. What else? Lots of people agreeing with our assessment that Rescuers Down Under is better than the original. So we are definitely
Smart
not
people.
in the minority on that. Sonic Screwdriver says, I have a love-hate relationship with Underworld. Can never decide if those movies are good. So mentioning Underworld.
It's
as
the thing
well.
with Underworld is it's such a fun concept. It's very, comic booky, but I don't know if the execution works. But
Yeah.
it's a fun world to think about.
Yeah. Let's see. What else you got? Andrew, what are some of your honorable mentions?
I got three that weren't mentioned. I'll go Quigley Down Under. It's a fun movie. Gotta
Okay.
love some Selleck and some Australian sharpshooting. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know this movie's bad. I gotta say, I know this movie's bad. But if you're ever in the mood for a bad Steven Seagal movie, Under Siege is fun.
Under Siege. Yeah.
Yeah, Under Siege is fun. And then a movie that is just so weird. I don't know if it's good or not, but I watched it, and that's Under the Skin. I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if that movie's good or not. It's so weird. It's one of the. It's like if Nicholas Winding Refn had a crazy dream, like a psychedelic dream, I think he would dream about Under the Skin.
Yeah, it's definitely a tone poem, right? Like some of
Yeah.
these movies like Under the Skin are full of atmosphere, full of dread, full of mystery, and not necessarily full of narrative clarity.
Yeah, no substance.
But I'm not sure I would say no substance. I think there's something going on there. It's just the narrative is so loose, and it's hard to necessarily know what is
Yeah.
intended to be going on.
100% an art house film.
Yeah. Totally
Yeah.
agree. Overlord, which came out recently, I thought was worth mentioning.
I forgot about that movie.
Yeah. I dig Over the Hedge, the cartoon Over the Hedge. Do you know that one, Andrew? You look like maybe you don't remember that one. It's a lot of fun. Have to mention
Hedge.
Over the Top for some great arm wrestling action. The Hangover, Bullets Over Broadway, Courage Under Fire, I think is worth mentioning.
Ooh, that's a good one. Courage Under Fire.
And then Days of Thunder might be another one to
Oh
mention as
man,
well.
I love Tom Cruise. Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
He drives really fast.
Tom Cruise just doing the Thunder movies. Tropic Thunder,
Yeah.
Days of Thunder. It's all about the thunder.
That's his jam.
That is his jam. All right, Andrew, it is time for our buried treasure. What is that one thing in any area of pop culture you want to make sure people know about?
I'm gonna go with something on Netflix. I finally got around to seeing the live action version of Death Note, which is based off of an anime. It is a giant garbage fire. It's horrible.
You hated it.
So I am warning people, stay away from that. Go instead and watch the anime that is based off of Death Note, which is one of the greatest animes of all time.
So
good.
technically, your buried treasure is not the Netflix one; it's the original.
Yeah, which you can still watch on Netflix. But yeah, definitely don't watch the movie. It is so bad. it's shocking. It's impressively
why is it
bad.
so bad? Now, see, I don't know anything about this property, so help a guy out. Like, why is this? Why is the original worth watching, and why is the new one so bad?
I think the main thing for me is because with a series like this, so much happens in it that if you try and condense it into a movie, that you kind of like with, not in the same realm as with Rebecca, but trying to say so much yet saying so little. Like nothing is sticking, nothing is landing. The performances are terrible in this. And it's Lakeith Stanfield. I love Lakeith Stanfield, and yeah, it's really bad. And I was really excited for Willem Dafoe, but no, it's really bad. But the main premise for this story is they're called Shinigami, which are Japanese gods of death, kind of like reapers, and they have books that they write down a person's name in, and as soon as they write down the person's name in it, they die. Well, one of the Shinigami loses his books, and a kid on Earth picks up the book. And now he realizes, oh, if I write down somebody's name in this, I can kill whoever I want. So he goes on a rampage of like killing like pedophiles and murderers and stuff. And he's trying to justify these thousands and thousands of murders that he's doing, thinking that he is a god trying to, like he was destined to be, this great savior of humanity. And the story goes into a really interesting, like a detective, like who's smarter, the detective or our main character. And
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely crazy, and it's dark. Obviously, it deals with murder constantly, but the cat and mouse game of this between our two leads is really, really something to behold. It's really fun.
Nice. Well, there you go. The
And it's
original
short.
anime
There's
Death
only
Note.
37, maybe 40 episodes, and that's
Okay.
it. So you can watch it really quick.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
There you go. My buried treasure is um not on is on Netflix. Yeah, Netflix. Man, it's just all Netflix. My buried treasure is on Netflix, I believe. Queen's Gambit.
Man, I was really hoping we were going to talk about this next week, like a full discussion, but I forgot Josh
Have you seen
Childs
it
is
as
on.
well?
It's so good.
It's
It's
so
so
great. It
good.
is. It is one of the best limited series I've ever seen. Like it's.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with every element of this, especially the direction, especially the shot selection, the things he's doing. Like I haven't been this impressed with the show's ability to visually put me in a story so perfectly since whatever the last thing Vince Gilligan did. You know, whether it's Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad. Vince definitely has that eye too. But man, there's a lot of incredible stuff going on here. Anna Taylor-Joy is great,
Primo.
perfect as this chess player. Just for a little bit of the plot, just in case you want to know, you're dealing with a girl who is orphaned and learns how to play chess, and then kind of her story of how she progresses through the chess world. And it's kind of like searching for Bobby Fischer
I was about to say it's very Bobby
meets,
Fischer esque.
yeah, some sort of, I don't know. It's really good. It doesn't have many great comparisons, but I love chess stuff to begin with. So it's already got that going for it. I love chess movies, chess shows. And I will say, if you don't know much about chess, I still don't think you're going to be lost, because as technical as this is about chess, you don't need to understand the technical aspects to get the story and get what's going on. So I don't think you're going to be overwhelmed. I actually think you're going to feel very much in a real authentic world, because it doesn't dumb it down either. It does a
No.
really incredible thing where it doesn't feel dumbed down, and it doesn't feel overwhelming to somebody who doesn't know the terminology. I didn't know some of this stuff. I don't know what the squares are called.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, that's the one thing. I play chess maybe once a day on my phone, and I couldn't tell you like the king's four or something like that, or
Right.
bishop.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty about chess I don't know. I know how the pieces move. I don't know any of the opening strategies or mid game strategies
No.
or none of that stuff. And yet the movie talks about all that stuff in a way that I was never lost. I felt like I understood what was going on. That's a really fine line to walk, to be able to not dumb something down, but at the same time not make it feel overwhelming. So, and part of that has to do with the fact that the chess is just kind of almost the backdrop to what we're really living here, which is the story of this human life and kind of how she progresses as a young woman. It's really a coming of age kind of thing. It's almost searching for Bobby Fischer meets what was eighth grade or something. You know what I mean? Like there's just an element of a coming of age movie kind of going on here. But again, it's a limited series. I think there's 7 episodes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
7 episodes.
I guess a good analogy for me was the first time I watched Crazy Rich Asians. At the very
Sure.
end, they play mahjong. I don't know how to play mahjong, but it's the way that the characters are reacting to moves that tell me how the story is progressing. The way this mother and daughter in the movie, play against each other. It's not about the game itself, it's about what the game is representing. And it's the same thing here with Queen Sacrifice. Seeing everybody's reactions to this young girl, like, you can tell just by the face, like, they think she's a prodigy. They think that she is going to be one of the greatest of all time. And you can tell by her reactions that she just, it's all calculations to her. And then there's the darker underbelly of like addiction and stuff like that goes into the whole story. I think that this is a masterclass in how a performance can narrate a story without knowing how the pieces work. That's
Yeah.
both literal and metaphorical.
I haven't even mentioned my favorite part of this limited series, and that is how every time the show has the ability to fall into a tired TV show story trope, it doesn't. And every single time watching this thing, it will go to a place I'm like, oh, I know what happens here. Nope, it didn't. And it just, I was blown away by how authentic this storytelling was and how fresh it just felt to be just told a story that didn't fall into those same old tired, oh, there's something nefarious going on with this guy, or, or, oh, she's found her romance and now she has a reason to play, like none of that stuff is played like that at all. And in fact, the overall message in the final episode is really kind of a beautiful message I haven't seen a lot of, especially dealing with a central female character like this. So I'm extremely impressed. My wife and I binged it in one day. We couldn't stop watching it.
Oh yeah, you can't stop.
It's so good. It really is that good. Sorry to put your expectations way up high. It's just, it really is a great show. I think you'll love it.
Honestly, I think yeah, we did put the expectations high, but I do think this is a show that's going to meet them. To meet those expectations. I know they're nowhere near in the same vein tonally, but Chernobyl, another limited series that came along, and like the praise for that was otherworldly, but it lived up to it. It's one of the greatest, if not, a lot of people consider it to be the greatest miniseries ever. I think that this could be in that conversation too. I really do.
You will laugh a lot more during the Queen's Gambit than Chernobyl. Just this is going to be a lot more fun.
Hey, I got a few good chuckles out of Chernobyl. There's some happy town frolics going on in that.
We need to talk, Andrew. We need to talk. Well, that's gonna do it.
Yeah,
we did it, man. We did
Woo!
it. Hey, before we finish this thing off, I just want to say somebody in the chat very kindly pointed out that even though they aren't able to support as a SIFPOP member, because they have Amazon Prime, they have a free sub that they can do on Twitch that actually supports what we do. I'm not sure if you know this about Twitch, but subscriptions actually help the creators that you subscribe to. And when you have Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription. So if you've been thinking, man, I wish I could help them out, but I really don't have, monthly, money to give that way, that's an opportunity. Even if you're not on Twitch now, I know it takes a little bit more effort, but go make an account on, if you have Amazon Prime, just go make an account on Twitch, follow the channel. It's twitch.tv/Aaron Dicer, and subscribe. And because you get a free one with your Amazon Prime subscription, and then you don't even have to worry about it anymore, but it helps us out. So yeah, there's a free thing that you may already have that can really help us out. So just wanted to throw that out there. So yeah, and a lot of our great conversation is happening on Twitch right now. So it's really kind of fun to see all that going on. So we did it, man. We did another podcast.
Woo!
Congratulations.
I don't know how we keep doing it, man, but we do it.
I don't know either.
Yeah, it's probably because Rebecca. It's because of Rebecca.
No, it's definitely not. Thanks so much for joining us today on SIFPOP. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about the other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out once again today.
Thank you, buddy.
Huge thanks to producer Phil for producing not only the audio show, but the video show as well.
Thanks, Phil.
Much love and gratitude to our SIFPOP members for giving monthly to make SIFPOP a real thing. Support starts at $3 a month, and you get access to all the bonus episodes, as well as some other fun perks. You can find out more at patreon.com/SIFPOP. Lots of ways to connect with the podcast. Feel free to comment, rate, leave a review, whether at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can also email us at feedback@sifpop.com if you have a question for us or something you want us to talk about. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too, so make sure you let them know about it and that listening is much easier than yelling "no barriers" and running through a wall. We will be back next week with a special guest, and we will be chatting On the Rocks and Wolf of Snow Hollow. And we will see you then.
Bye.
All right, Twitch gang, hanging out. Lollipop Shoes, Doc Trancy, Sonic Screwdriver, all hanging out on Twitch. Daniel McConkey, also on Twitch. Uiza22. I'm telling you, our Twitch gang coming through.
Oh yeah.
Like the last half hour of the show is pretty much all Twitch comments. I see Jason on YouTube hanging out, Dan on YouTube. Appreciate all you guys. We love doing this live. We're glad to be able to start doing it live again. We will be doing our first ever live 3-person show next week, as you heard, as we were heading out.
Hopefully we can do it on time.
The goal is always Sunday afternoon is the goal, but whatever it is, we're glad that you guys are able to join us. And it's not bad every once in a while to switch it up, because I know not everybody's available at 1:30 every Sunday afternoon. So appreciate you all. Thank you, love you, and we will catch you next time.